In this session, let us learn how to set up a fully distributed multi-node Hadoop cluster on a local machine. In order to set up this cluster, we would require 5 different virtual machines. To speed up the setup process, we would make use of the base virtual machine which we had created earlier while setting up the pseudo cluster, and clone this virtual machine from the state where the Hadoop installation was completed, and build 5 different virtual machines from it. The first virtual machine would be dedicated for the name node and the job tracker daemons, and the second virtual machine would be dedicated for the secondary name node. And the next 3 virtual machines would be dedicated for the data node and task tracker daemons, and they would be acting as a slave node. Let us begin the process of building up these virtual machines. As you can see, we are on the VMware workstation and we have the base VM opened. Let us right click on the base VM and then click on snapshot and then click on the snapshot manager. This will bring up the snapshot manager. Let us select the appropriate snapshot and click on clone. This will bring up the cloning wizard. Let us click on next and let us select the option an existing snapshot and click on next. And here let us choose the clone method as create a full clone and click on next. Now we need to give a name to this virtual machine. Let us call it as name node. And here let us click on browse and choose the location where we want the VMware workstation to store the files related to this virtual machine. Here let us create a folder and call it as name node and click on OK. Now let us click on finish to start up the cloning process. As you can see, the cloning process has completed. Now let us click on close. Now let us repeat the same process. That is, click on clone and follow the same process as we did earlier. The only change would be we need to give a different name for the virtual machine, and we need to choose a different location for storing the virtual machine files. Rest all would be the same for building up the remaining virtual machines. As you can see, the second virtual machine also has finished building up. Now let us build up the slave nodes. Let us call the first slave node as data node 1. We would be calling this virtual machine as data node 2. Let us call this virtual machine as data node 3. As you can see, we have finished building up all the 5 virtual machines that are required for setting up the cluster. In the next session, we would learn how to configure and bring up this cluster. Here we have the name node, secondary name node, data node 1, data node 2, and data node 3.